Hi everyone, this is Michelle from Mammy's Country Quilts. Welcome to our virtual classroom. So today we're going to be doing a table runner called Sprucing Up the Season. Behind to my right here you see the runner. This is the long version of the project. It's 72 inches long by 18 inches wide. We also have a shorter version which is 52 inches by 18 inches. So this project comes in a kit, or you can actually buy the PDF download as well on our website. And fabric. So we're going to be using yardage for this project. We've got the greens for the Christmas tree and the blues for the background and a little bit of brown for the trunk. So we've gone ahead and cut the pieces for this project already. So I'm just going to show you how we've laid this out. So in the instructions, we're cutting out 2.5 inch strips for this project. And then the important thing here is to make sure you label your pieces as you're cutting them. So that you'll see all these white little tags on my project. They're letters that correspond with the cuts in the cutting instructions. So the easiest way to do this is take your pieces and put them in order on your desk, so that you can see in what order they need to be sewn. So this is row number 1, this is row number 2, and I'm just going to move these off my mat here. That's row number 2, and then row number 3. So I'm just laying out 3 rows for you. There are 9 rows altogether, which I have right here, but I will show those to you as I get to that point in the instructions. So now what we need to do is mark the angles on our pieces, and what we've done to make this easier is we're just marking the pieces that are the tree parts. So, and what you need to realize here is that there's 2 angles because we're creating a tree, so you're going to have an angle going right and one going left. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring these tree pieces down, and I'm going to show you how to mark those. And these are indicated in the instructions. Mika has diagrams here for you which talk about these 2 angles and how to place your pieces when you're drawing them. I'm just going to show you with the ruler how to do that really quick here. So I'm just going to use a ruler, and on your ruler you have 45-degree lines. We're going to use those to mark our angles. So I'm going to take the 45-degree line and I'm going to place that at the top edge of my fabric, just like that. Then I'm going to grab a marking pencil, and I'm just using a marking pencil today. I'm not using anything that's going to iron off because I don't want these marks to disappear. So you can see here I actually switched my pencil around. I used green on the lighter one, I'm just using a white one on this green one. So you can see the lines. Then you're going the other side, and I'm going to use this 45-degree line. That one's going to go on the bottom edge of my fabric now. So you're going from the corner, 45 is running along the edge, and you're going to take your pencil and mark. That. Okay, so we have those marked. I'm just going to do a couple here just to show you. So then I'm going to bring in my other pieces. So this is my second row. This guy goes right here. So what you have to remember is that you have trees going, one's right side up and one's upside down. So you have angles going like this, and you have angles going like that. So this first one, the tree is going to be up, so it means your angle is going like this. So you're going to take your pattern, and the easiest way is just to put your pattern up there so you can see where you're going. your angle is this way, so you're gonna find the diagram on your pattern which indicates the diagonal going this way. Okay, so to do these angles, you're going to take the pieces that you've marked. So the first one, your angle is going this way. So you're going to take your piece and you're going to place it on your background piece, the blue piece. So my line is going from bottom left to top right. So my angle is going like that. And that's the way the tree should be going. So that's the way your angle has to be. So I'm going to take my pins and just show you. And this is the way you can check to make sure you do have the right angle. So I'm just going to pin right on my line, and I'm just going to use 2 pins so I can actually fold this over. So now I go and sew on that line, and I would turn my piece this way. So you see I have a straight line. If you have your line going this way, when you turn your piece over, you're actually going to create a corner. So you have to make sure you've got a straight line going like this, okay? And our first piece is going like that, which is the way it should be going over here. So now we're going to take, again, we're going to pick up the piece that we just pinned. We're just going to bring this over like that. Okay, so we have our first angle done. We're going to put the second angle on, and this one has to come this way to create the peak of our tree. So you're just going to pick this guy up, and you're going to flip them on top of your background piece again, and your angle should be going like that. And if you can see my green line, that's what's happening. And we're going to pin. And if I open this up, we have the peak of our tree, and that's what it should look like. So now you can just, in this second row, you're going to have to go and sew this one before you can actually pin and put this guy on, just because we have a peak going. But for your other rows, you can actually pin them together and then just sew them all at once. So for this one, I'm just going to keep on going here. I'm not going to sew in between. You're going to do the same thing. So you're going to take this piece and you're going to put it, so we want this angle here, so you're going to take this, or actually we want the same angle because your tree is now upside down. So we're going to take this and go, like this one. And you'll see the angle is running the same as this one. So when you open this up, these 2 angles are the same, and that's this little piece right here that we're creating in here. Okay, so you have to make sure you have your angles. So it's really useful actually to put the diagram right beside you, and then you can see which way your angles need to go as you're going. And when you open them up like this, you can really see that they're right. And that's important to do before you start sewing, otherwise you're just going to get frustrated with ripping a bunch of stuff out. All right, so after we've done that, we're going to go to the sewing machine. We're going to sew those, and then we're going to come back and we're going to trim. And I've sewn this piece of row number 2. And these ones I was able to just sew them because there's actually a gap here in the tree as you're going down the rows, that these pieces are getting bigger, so you can actually just pin them all like I did over here, and then we can just go sew them all. So what you're going to do now is just take your ruler and your cutter. You're going to put your 1/4 inch line on your seam, and you're just going to trim your corners. And now you're ready to press. And when we press this project, we're pressing towards the green. So your strips are going to look like that. And the reason we do that is so that your tree actually sits a little bit forward on your piece, and that because that's the part that you want to see, and the background then becomes the background. So then this goes back over here, we'll put this back here. So that's row 2 and row 3. And I have sewn already some of the rows. So this is your next row. You can see we've got my A's over here. So A, B, C is your tree. And then your next one is your D. Okay, so this is what your rows look like when they're sewn together. So now we need to put these 2 rows together. So there's a couple of things when you're working with strips. You have to be careful how you sew them together. So first I'm going to show you how to pin these so that your trees actually stay lined up. Also going to, just a little tip when you're sewing angles, I put this pin here so I wouldn't forget to show you, because I went off on this one just to show you what happens when you don't sew, when you miss your angle when you're sewing these 45-degree angles. So when you're sewing your angles, you really have to hit the corner of your piece at the top and at the bottom, so that when you open this up you actually have a straight line here. On this one, I don't know if you can see this. You can see I have a jog right here. I just went off, like I went off my line, just a needle width, and you can see how much off I am. When you're working with angles, everything is amplified when you do a miss. It's not like doing a straight line when you're sewing on an angle and you're over a needle width. It's a lot. It becomes more, and so it creates a jog in your piece. That's why I left it there, just to show you. So if you're missing like that, your piece is going to be jagged instead of straight, like this. Okay. So now the next thing is, when you have all your rows together, you're going to want these trees to line up. And we found the easiest way to do that is to just grab your pins, take your green piece, and you're just going to fold it in half. So just put your two seams on top of one another. Just make a crease here, and then you're going to stick a pin in it like that, and you're going to do that for all of these. Okay, so that's that one done. And then you'll do the same thing on the bottom row. Okay, and then we're just going to grab these 2 strips and we're going to line up those pins. So basically what we're doing is we're finding the center of each piece so that it lines up with the center of your other piece. So that in this way your trees will actually look like this, and they'll not shift one way or the other. Okay? So you'll take this now, you'll flip this row on top of the other one so that they're right sides together, and you're just going to take one of these out and just repin that in the center. Alright, so now you're ready to go and sew these two strips together. And I take the time to actually pin my ends together over here at the top and at the bottom. This way I know that they're going to line up and I won't have a jagged edge at the bottom, at the end, sorry. And so you're going to go in, you're going to do a 1/4 inch seam all the way down, and then you're just going to press. And for the pressing on these, we just press them all one way. Doesn't matter which way you're pressing, just as long as you're pressing all the same way, then it'll be even. And the other thing you have to remember, when you're sewing sets of strips like this, you don't always want to start sewing from one end. So you should do is sew your pairs together starting from the right side of your strip. So you're going to sew them this way. Then when you have your sets, so here I have these 4 sewn together. So I sewed these 2 pairs starting at this end going this way, and the same thing with this pair. And then when I sewed the 2 pairs together, I started at this end and went this way. And the reason we do that, it keeps the fabric straight, because if you always sew in one direction when you're sewing long strips like this, you're actually going to end up with a wow in your fabric. So your runner is going to go like this instead of being straight. Okay, and that's basically building up our table runner, sprucing up the season. And this is what it looks like. This is the long one, so this, you can make it slightly shorter. So in the instructions, we have, in the cutting instructions, we have square brackets around the numbers for the small runner. So there's 2 sets of numbers. The ones in the square brackets are for the smaller runner. And the same thing in the assembly instructions down here, where she has you doing the rows, which is just putting these together. There's a section that has square brackets around it. You don't do that section for the small runner. You just skip over that part, and she has that written up here. So just so you know, the square brackets is for the small runner. Okay? And that's our table runner.